could be the two of you today. I don't know where everybody is.
Well,
Good.
That's all.
Good morning. Welcome to the Higher View. I'm Dr. Laura, and we are continuing our book study with, Hannah's on. Oh my goodness, Hannah. Have not seen you forever. Nice to have you with us today, Hannah. Anyway, we're continuing our book study on the dynamic laws of healing. Today is going to be the last 10 o'clock show. Ladies, I sent you an email. Hopefully, I forget for what, I think it's Monday or Tuesday at 4. I think I did it 4 or 4:30, but there's an email if you want to continue on with the book study. I'd love to have you. So I don't know where everybody is. I hope they're not having problems connecting. But anyway, shall we get started? Everybody doing well though? Donna, are you doing well? Terry, you're doing well too, I'm knowing.
Yes, I am, thank you.
Okay, Donna, do you want to start reading then? Because you didn't get to read last week. The Healing Law of Love, Chapter 7.
Yeah. You know what page, Dr. Laura?
Yes, I'm sorry. It's 115.
Oh, okay. The Healing Law of Love. Early in my ministry, I discovered that one type of affirmation often brought physical and emotional healings when none other did. That type expressed divine love. Disease often results from a violation of the law of love. Thoughts of hate generate a deadly poison in the body, which, if not neutralized, can even produce death. Love cleans the mind and body of these hates that accumulate in the form of resentment, criticism, sorrow, remorse, guilt, fear, anger, jealousy. Affirmations of love change these killing thoughts into life thoughts. Affirmations of love bring peace to the mind and body. Love has been described as the physician of the universe because it has the power to heal all ills when invoked silently or by spoken affirmation. Love is all powerful because thoughts of love harmonize the mind. Love is also an awakener. Dwelling upon the phrase divine love awakens a positive current in the body, which will break up opposing thoughts of hate, rendering them and their destruction in the body null and void. Love takes away all thoughts of destruction as it levels all things into one harmonious whole. By the persistent cultivation of love, man can change his belief and rebuild his body cell by cell. Emmett Fox has described the healing power of love in his book, Power Through Constructive Thinking. There is no difficulty that enough love will not conquer. There is no disease that enough love will not heal. It makes no difference how deeply seated may be the trouble. It makes no difference how hopeless may be the outlook. Sufficient realization of love will dissolve it all. Dr. Fox explains that unless you build up within yourself a love consciousness, all your other activities will be more or less futile. Whereas when you develop a love consciousness toward all, everything else will follow. Dr. Fox states that many people have found very remarkable things happening in their lives after only a few days special work done on love. All sorts of personal difficulties simply vanished away. As the months passed, their faces sometimes altered in a remarkable way, since the body is usually the first thing to respond to freedom from fear and resentment. People have told me that they have felt 20 years roll off their shoulders after treating themselves a few days along these lines, he writes. And he concludes that to practice effectively the yoga of love is the quickest way to demonstrate over all your difficulties, as well as to help mankind universally demonstrate over its many troubles.
Okay, Don, let's stop there. That, I think, wow, that is powerful. You know, the power of love, how it is so healing. Oh, Joni, your hair's cute. Anyway, I love that. We're on that second paragraph. For those of you just joining, we're on the Healing Law of Love. On page 115, we just read the first section. But talks how disease often results from a violation of the law of love. Thoughts of hate generate a deadly poison in the body, which, if not neutralized, can produce death. And he talks about she talks about how love cleanses the mind and body of these hates that accumulate in the form of resentment, criticism, sorrow, remorse, guilt. Really, when you think about it, from that perspective, we should never want to get angry. I have to remember that myself. That love is the most powerful energy that we could be emitting. And again, like I've said before, think about your cells in your body just going along, doing their job and being happy. And all of a sudden, this negative energy in your body is attacking them, it's like, like when a loud sound happens or something. I was out at where I live, and it was they were having a golf tournament, and they shot the gun, it was a shotgun start, scared the heck out of me. I didn't know where the heck that came from, but that's a jolt. So think of something like that as a jolt when you're angry or when you're criticizing. I read something this last week, and it was Paul Selig, who will be doing his book study probably in a couple months or something. But it was something that he said in there where he said that if we don't recognize that it's incumbent on us to remember that everything is God. And that when we see somebody or a situation and we get angry or we judge it or whatever, we are judging God, that everybody is an aspect of the divine. And in those moments, they may not realize who they are or what's going on. It's incumbent on us to send love. I thought, wow, that's going to be like going to the gym sometimes and having a hard workout for myself anyway. But it makes sense. It made sense to me that people that we don't agree with, they are an aspect of God. It is God expressing in that way. And so it's like our children. We don't always maybe approve of the way they're behaving, but we still never stop loving them. And so anyway, so I really think that that's something to practice for everyone. Any comments on that? Any challenges with that? Or am I the only one sometimes that's a challenge for? No? Okay. Donna, what are you thinking?
It's a challenge for me every day, every minute of every day.
Yeah.
Because I realize that sometimes I make an unconscious choice to go in the negative.
Yep.
And I don't realize it until I'm already in there. And then I have to pull myself back. So it really is. I mean,
at least you're noticing now. You know what?
Yes.
To me, that's a huge improvement, because in that moment, when you recognize what you're doing, then you can stop, take a breath, and then change it.
Yes.
Try to look at it from a different perspective. And that's where the healing starts taking place. And I think the more that we become conscious of that behavior and we stop it in its tracks right then, say, no, I'm not going there. Breathe, send that love, and then move on. Yeah. And then pretty soon, I think we won't be noticing it that much. As much.
I'm sorry. I have a friend who's married, whose wife has asked for a divorce. And this woman, the wife who asked for the divorce, comes from my neck of the woods in Massachusetts. And I see in her every unenlightened person I have ever grew up with in Massachusetts. This woman wouldn't be able to see divine spirit if spirit slapped her across the face. I mean,
not yet, Donna, not yet.
No, but what I'm saying is this is what I and a lot of people still are. So I'm very grateful to have made the few steps in the right direction that I have. Because I'll tell you, not only is it not pretty, it is so hurtful. It really is.
Yeah. No, and I'm not saying it's always easy, to do, but it's something that it is truly a spiritual practice to do. Truly, it's a spiritual practice. Lou, unmute, Lou.
The greatest challenge I've had in recent years on this has been in politics. It has been very difficult because it's what we forgot in our country is to continue to have love toward people that we radically disagree with, even at the level we might consider a moral level, an ethical level, or a spiritual level. But it's still the same thing. And I have come now to realize every time you step out of love, you're joining what you're judging.
Exactly. Exactly. That Paul Selig, where I told you what he just said about love. That's exactly what he said. He said, if you start reacting to that negative, you've joined them.
Exactly.
You've joined the shadow. When you do that, you join the shadow. And we don't want to do that when we're in that judgment. So thank you, Luke, for reminding me of that. That's exactly what he says.
That was the kick in the butt for me.
Yeah. We've joined the shadow. And that's what Paul Selig says. He says, we have to be the light always, no matter what's going on. And it's something I know I have to work on constantly and remember, but at least we're not unconscious about it anymore. We at least catch ourselves like, oh, here I go again. Okay, kind of do your Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. Kind of do it in those moments. So, any other comments? Go ahead,
Those
Luke.
most difficult people end up being our greatest teachers.
Exactly, and you know what? Actually, if you think about it, aren't they building our spiritual muscle? They are building our spiritual muscle. Absolutely. And the more we build that, then the more we're not going to see that anymore in our life. There's going to be a change. And that's what we have to know that and come from that place. Anybody else want to say anything or no?
Okay. Yeah, I might say something if it's okay.
Sure. Hannah.
I know a lot of my depression comes from suppressed anger. And I often am angry, at some of the wrongs that have been done to me. But I know that if I had a better self-esteem, I would have never taken any of that personally, because it was never about me. It was about them. So I know that I have to work on my self-esteem so I don't get engaged in the show and take it personally.
Right. And you know what? And that love has to start with ourselves, Hannah, too. So just, if it's their loss and you just love yourself and know that you are that aspect of God, you are that perfection, and send them love, Hannah, because people don't treat us badly unless it's because they're miserable. They're the ones that are miserable, and they don't know any other way of handling things. So, the very first part of this book, Hannah, was all about forgiveness, that any issues that we have, there's things within ourselves that we need to forgive, that we're still carrying. So I really, I honor you for sharing that with us and that recognition. And to, it's like what the master teacher Jesus said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And it is a great opportunity for you to rise above that and to be that love and to know your perfection and to know that you are a perfect aspect of God and that love is with you, around you, and is you always. So thank you. Barbara Lippert.
For me, I think one of the issues I have is I could forgive someone and I go through all the forgiveness and then they do the same thing again and again and again. And it's like, I realize that when I forgive someone and then they haven't, that our relationship has changed, and that doesn't occur in the most part. But in this case, it's like, it's like no sooner have I finished my forgiveness work with them, and then it's all over again.
Well, maybe you got to find some new friends. I'm sorry, that wasn't very nice, but I'm just saying. It's like I told you what my friend always says. I always think about, just because we shared a womb, we don't have to share a turkey. And so it's like, so even though this might not be a family member or a sibling, because I know your beautiful sister Terry, that would never be the case. But what I'm saying is we don't have to be in the mud with them to send them love, and so I don't know. I'm just saying you can be away from them and keep sending them love. And then maybe one day you'll run into them or be at an event or something with them and you won't notice it, or they will have changed, but all I would say is if that keeps happening, I don't know, maybe you have more work to do, or maybe it's time to not associate with that person if you can help it. Any other comments before we move on? I guess that wasn't very spiritual of me, but it's like,
It's the truth.
I'm just saying.
It's always spiritual.
Right. We can send, we don't have to live with somebody to still send them love. I'll just share, when my husband and I split up, I knew I couldn't live with him anymore, but I never hated him I just knew that our time together was not being beneficial for anybody. And so with love, we split up. In fact, we never divorced, and then he made his transition, but we had been separated for years. And so all I'm saying is sometimes you just have to disengage, but with love, for your own sake too, so. And any other comments on this? Okay. All right. Terry Lippert, do you want to read for us?
Sure. Love heals painful bursitis. Early in the ministry, I discovered the truth of Dr. Fox's words. Affirmations express divine love are among the most powerful type of prayers for healing. A businesswoman had bursitis of the shoulder. She had been under medical care for several weeks, taking drugs and other treatments in an effort to relieve the pain. When the drugs wore off, the pain consistently returned. Finally, her doctor told her there was nothing that could be done medically to cure bursitis, and that she would have to endure the pain, hoping it would gradually subside. One Sunday morning after the church service, this lady asked my ministerial assistant and me to pray for her healing. In the church prayer room, the three of us gathered. My assistants and I decreed for this woman, divine love is doing its perfect work in you and through you now. You rest and relax in the love of God, and you are healed. For some time, we made these affirmations and then silently meditated upon the healing power of divine love. At the conclusion of our prayer time, this lady went home with the instructions to take a nap. This she had been unable to do for several weeks because of the pain. After resting, she was to telephone the results. Upon arriving home, she felt relaxed and drowsy. In spite of the pain, she was able to sleep. And when she awakened, the pain was gone. It did not return. Love is a mind power. We often think of love as an emotion. We often think of love as a spiritual quality. It is both. But love is also a mind power, native to man, existent in every one of us. Certain words used persistently release this mind power to mold and transform conditions in the mind, body, and affairs of man. The words divine love dissolve hate, resistance, opposition, obstinacy, anger, and other mental and physical frictions that cause pain and disease. Words make cells, and these cells adjust to each other through associated ideas. When the words divine love enter into man's thought processes, every cell responds with poise and balance. As it does, peace and harmony appear. Pain and disease fade away. By persistently dwelling upon the thought of divine love, man unifies himself with the healing power of love within him, and it then pours forth through his body in healing streams. Through the thought of divine love, man can free himself from all types of limitations. Love heals high fever and heart condition. Another experience witnessed early in my ministry convinced me of love's healing power. I was called to the hospital to pray with a businessman who had a high fever, which his physicians had been unable to break up. Strong drugs would bring his fever down, but when the drug wore off, the fever returned. His condition seemed especially serious because over a period of years, he had suffered a chronic heart condition and had taken special drugs to arrest it. Any undue strain on his heart might bring dire results. For some time, this man had had marital difficulties, having gotten involved with another woman. Instead of keeping quiet about their difficulties, his wife had talked loud and long to almost anyone who would listen. Her criticism had only exaggerated their problems. A complete gap had developed between them, followed by ill health, mounting financial problems, and unruly behavior in their insecure children. It seemed a deplorable situation. As I stood by this man's hospital bed and affirmed for him, God loves you, God is guiding you, God is showing you the way, you are beloved by God and man, tears came to his eyes and a sense of peace enveloped him. Upon returning to my church study, a few minutes later, a strange thing happened. As I sat down to relax, suddenly a feeling of intense heat passed through my body, followed by a burst of tears. The thought came, this is an experience in vicarious healing. That man's high fever is passing through my body. I have just felt his own pent up anxieties as they have been released. He is being healed. The next morning, his wife telephoned to confirm my belief. After our prayer the night before, all fever had left him. Within a few days, he was released from the hospital, though he had spent several anxious weeks there. He began taking smaller and smaller doses of drugs. Later, he threw away the medicines he had felt dependent upon for years. He remained a healthy, active man and lived a normal lifespan. The original heart trouble connected with his marriage is also cleared up. As his wife got quiet about their difficulties and began daily affirming for her husband and their marriage, God loves us. God is guiding us. God is showing you the way. Thoughts of criticism and condemnation cause all kinds of illness. When you speak words of love, you clear up the negative emotion that caused the illness. Love is the greatest worker and will accomplish more for your happiness than all other mind powers combined. If you want a servant that will work for you night and day, cultivate divine love.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Wow, that was. I mean, that is those are great examples of the power of love. You know, we really sometimes don't focus enough on that part of ourselves. That love that we have, just, you know, it, to me, again, it's like if you see, you know, a little puppy or a little baby, you just feel this, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And you just feel that love well up in you, or something that you find beautiful. It could be a piece of art. It could be, you know, the stars. It could be going to the ocean or the mountains or something, that there's just, think of something that you just love and just feel that energy that fills you up and pours out of you. And there's just again no power that it's like, when we do the candlelight service and the sanctuary's dark and we light that light, even before we all light our candles, it's the light that, even as Dr. Joe lights the candles around our symbol for the attributes of God, it still like lights up the room. And so just think of that love that you have, that light that you bring to every situation. You don't even have to say anything. Just hold that and just say some of these affirmations about love, and that you are love and they are love, and just be that at all times, and I just believe that the more we do it, this month's theme at the center is going to be passion. And have passion for life, have a passion for something that you love, and just send that energy. And remember that those feelings that you have when you are at peace and you feel that love, bring that feeling into situations that aren't what you'd rather not be in, but your light is needed more than ever in those moments. Any comments on that, or any challenges, or you don't agree with this or anything?
Well,
Terry?
Well, I'll just make this short, but before I even knew about affirmations and spirituality, I was going to this pain management doctor, and he was just feeding me all these drugs, and until the point I was so unfocused and woozy, and he also had a physical therapist associated with him. And one night he had gone for the day, and the physical therapist whispered to me, Terry, nobody gets better here. He just keeps taking your money and he fills you up with drugs. And I didn't know how to swim then. And he kept telling me, oh, you shouldn't learn how to swim. It's going to hurt your back. And he wanted to give me this operation that was not tested. It was a brand new operation. And I just all of a sudden decided I was going to flush the medicines down the drain. I was going to fire this doctor, and I was going to learn how to swim. And I did all of these things, and the pain went away.
Wow.
It was just, and I don't know, it was something in me that realized that this is something I had to do for myself. And I did it, and I just, turned the tide. And
to me, that was your spirit, Terry, telling you. That was what I would call, that was big Terry, that higher consciousness of who you are. Big Terry was saying, stop listening to this guy. You can do this. You have the power to heal yourself. And you listened to it. And what a blessing that therapist was who whispered that to you.
oh, I
Now, that was
know.
love. He loved you enough. He was guided by your spirit to tell you that, because you might not have listened otherwise. That's a great story. Thank you, Terry, for sharing that.
Welcome.
Anybody else? No? Joni, welcome back. Do you want to I like your haircut. You look adorable. Unmute. There
Okay.
you go. Yep.
All right. How to turn love on. Love is the key to healing. Many doctors now agree that the majority of man's ills come from congestion and from poisons stirred up by negative emotions. Love relaxes and harmonizes man's emotions. Love attunes the individual to the healing power within himself. Love is a faculty native to man, existence in every soul, which may be used to bring about harmony and unity among those who have been disunited through misunderstanding, contention, or selfishness. The ordinary man is not aware that he possesses this mighty power, which will turn away every shaft of hate that is aimed at him, and which will neutralize its destructive effect upon his body. Some years ago, scientific studies on love at Harvard University, headed by Dr. Pitarim A. Sorokin, revealed that human beings have always placed love high on the list of things to be desired in life, but we have tended to look on love as something we could personally do little about. Love either happened to us or it didn't. Now, thanks to the Harvard study, we are finding out otherwise. Love, like other good things, can be deliberately produced by human beings. There is no reason why we cannot learn to generate love as we do other natural forces. The Harvard scientists discovered that you can actually bombard people, situations, and conditions with love, thereby producing miraculous changes. They predicted that turning love on might soon become a universal prescription for healing the world's ills. There is nothing new about these ideas on the power of love, though we delight in hearing them expressed by our eminent scientists. It was the master psychologist of the ages who informed the lawyer that love was the greatest of all the commandments. One of the world's most profound intellectuals and builders of early Christianity, the Apostle Paul, also ascribed all power to love. You can immediately turning love on in your life, thereby using it as a prescription for healing your ills. Make it a practice to meditate daily on the thought, divine love, manifest thyself in me. There should be periods of mental concentration on the love center in the cardiac plexus near the heart. Think about love with the attention drawn within the breast, and a quickening will follow. All the ideas that go to make up love will be set in motion. Love heals arthritis. Divine love has a balm for every ill. Violation of the law of love causes a short circuit in your health. Resentment, hatred, envy, selfishness, and other negative emotions are responsible for most of man's diseases. Just as these strongly negative emotions affect the chemistry of the body, causing disease, so thoughts of love affect the chemistry of the body, producing restoration. An elderly woman had been troubled for several years with arthritis. She could not use her fingers or hands. Most of the time, the pain was unbearable, and her fists were doubled up. Trying to sleep was a nightmare. She sought out several doctors and applied their remedies, which helped some, but the pain always returned. One day, the biblical promise, love never faileth, welled up in her thinking. She couldn't get that promise out of her mind. Then she read these words from a daily word. My heart is filled with divine love, and divine love will work any miracle that needs working. At regular periods and many, many times in between, while sitting or lying down, she mentally and audibly affirmed these words. She also made it a daily practice to send love thoughts to her family, friends, neighbors. She deliberately sent love thoughts to every person who had ever wronged her or whom she had hurt or disliked. She searched her heart and mind to discover any hidden or long forgotten wrongs or resentments. She forgave all, sending out love to every nationality, race, and creed. Often she declared, the Christ in me forgives and sends love to you. A few weeks later, the doubled fist began to loosen. Next, she could move one finger, then another. After a few months, the pain ceased. Later, she was able to use her hands perfectly, doing all her own work. This instance of healing occurred several years ago. Her doctor stated that the arthritis had probably been arrested forever. The body has no initiative of its own. It is a living organism which the mind has built and continues to direct. This directive process is accomplished by means of mind impulses impinging on tissues sensitive to thought, which have been called brain cells. Brain cells have cores that receive and carry the thoughts and emotions of the presiding ego. Through the dynamic power of thought, man can release the life of the electrons secreted in the atoms that compose the cells of his body. By persistently dwelling upon the thought, divine love, man can change his beliefs and rebuild his body cell by cell. This lady proved it.
Stop just, I had a thought. I was thinking, you know how, I guess they don't do it in school. Remember how we used to always have to stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance every day in school? I was just thinking, wouldn't it be nice if as a country we practiced like every day at a certain time, everybody said, the divine in me forgives and sends love to you. And just everybody in the country just started saying that affirmation. How that could shift, or even everybody in the world, not even just our country, but everybody in the world, or even just a lot of us just all did it every day at some time, how powerful that would be. Oh, I just got God bumps. Maybe we need to start some kind of a movement. All right, go ahead. Keep going, Joni.
Love, a requirement in psychosomatic treatment. Some years ago, a doctor showed me a medical book on psychosomatic illness, which indicated the power of love for health and wholeness. In this book, a group of doctors had compiled their analysis of various illnesses and of the mental and emotional attitudes they felt caused these illnesses. I am amazed to see that in every analysis, the need for love was listed. For instance, in the case of stomach disorders of all types, one of the psychosomatic reasons given for the illness was love needed. In the case of heart disorders, one of the reasons listed was love needed. In the case of skin disorders, one of the reasons listed was need for approval, which is a form of love. This brought to mind the experience a bookkeeper shared with me. She had a skin disorder that defied healing until she began daily placing her hands on her face, affirming, divine love is healing you now. And the skin disorder promptly began to heal. In the case of female disorders, one of the reasons listed was need for love. In the case of chronic fatigue, one of the psychosomatic reasons listed was depression, insecurity, and need for love. In the case of the common headache and a migraine, one of the reasons listed was insecurity and need for love. I once talked with a businesswoman who was suffering from migraine headaches. Doctors had tried every type of medical treatment known in an effort to help her. She had also visited metaphysicians of various types, trying to get freedom from those headaches. When I asked her, have you tried affirmative prayer as a possible means of healing your headaches? She replied that affirmation was too simple a method to work for her. Several well-known spiritual healers in that area were mentioned, and I asked if she had contacted any of them for help. In each instance, she had. Then she proceeded to criticize them severely. Obviously, this woman needed to develop and generate a loving state of mind if she was to be freed from her ill health. Her attitude bore witnesses to the psychosomatic findings of the doctors. This was pointed out to her, and some affirmations on love were suggested for daily use. In the case of excessive weight and overeating, one of the reasons listed was a feeling of dissatisfaction with life and a need for love. In the case of alcoholism and other excesses, one of the reasons listed was feelings of inferiority and need for love. Psychologists have long recognized the deprivation of love as a causative illness. Isn't it good to know that our medical doctors are now also realizing that whenever there is a health problem, there is a need for love? It is good too to realize that when there is such a need, you can begin supplying it from within yourself. As you radiate the love thought from within out, it is released into your mind, body, affairs, and relationships. Whatever outer forms of love are needed in your life are then attracted. A businessman told me that he was healed of a painful condition of long standing after he began releasing love from within himself by speaking words of love to his body. He had tried various treatments to no avail, and then he read the chapter showing how to generate love in my book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. He began placing his hands on the painful area of the body, saying over and over, "I love you." The pain gradually faded away.
Okay, thank you, Joni. I mean, that is really pretty powerful. Did you want to say something, Joni?
I just recently I was in Yosemite, and we were hiking every single day, and my leg would bother me, and I used some of what we've been reading about, and I would say, "You are strong, you are a great leg, you can do this, and you are hiking wonderfully," and on and on, just so they're saying, and my leg got better.
Wow.
I know, it was great.
Yeah, these are things that we just don't think about doing, I mean, and so that's why these things like this are nice to read, to remind us of the power that we have within ourselves to create what it is we want or to release what we don't want. And I think that, anyway, it is really powerful. But that's a good one. See, you must have jumped ahead with reading this on your own, huh, Joni, when you were on your vacation.
Yeah.
Anybody else on that? Are you sitting there going, I don't know if I'm buying this, or does it resonate with you? Is it resonating with you? Donna, you're not shaking your head yet. Okay. Barbara Lippert.
Powerful thoughts of love that can heal. A powerful thought for healing is this: God is love. If the full force of the statement were realized, a marvelous transformation would take place in man and his world. One person was healed of an incurable disease after he began affirming these words over and over. In another instance, a lady sat by her sick husband's bed where he lay dying. Over and over, she decreed, God is love. Her husband rallied and made a complete recovery. A man had been drinking for a number of days. He had visited ministers, priests, a rabbi, an assortment of social workers in an effort to terminate his drinking. Finally, he found his way to me. Even though this man was still intoxicated at the time he arrived for help, he agreed to begin declaring affirmations with me just as soon as he could follow the words coherently. Meanwhile, he agreed to sit quietly and accept the ideas expressed. I began affirming to him over and over, God loves you. God is guiding you. God is showing you the way. That God loved him was a new idea to this man, who had previously believed he was unloved and unwanted by the deity because of his drinking. This thought alone was a sobering one. Finally, he joined me in affirming for himself, God loves me, God is guiding me, God is showing me the way. We continued the simple process of verbal affirmation for some time until this man's mind cleared. At the conclusion of our prayer period, he walked out of my office a sober man. On his way out, he mentioned that he had no place to go for the night, that along with the need for food and shelter, he also needed an overcoat to protect himself against the bitter cold weather. Knowing that this man had been a recipient of such items before, I felt it would strengthen his appreciation of them to attract these blessings through affirmation. It was explained that his own use of words could continue to bless, guide, heal, and provide for him. He agreed to momently affirm God loves me. God is guiding me. God is showing me the way. As he walked toward the center of the city, an old acquaintance drove by, recognized the man on foot, and offered him a ride into town. That very evening, the friend presented him with a worn but warm coat and gave him food and shelter until he found work. A few weeks later, when this man returned to thank me, he appeared clear shaven, wearing fresh clothes. He had obtained work and was settled in his own rented room. As he began directing his thoughts and his life along constructive lines, he was able to make a complete comeback from a previous life of dissipation. Many persons, as a result of being forced or suppressed in childhood, have hard, unyielding places in their subconscious mind that do not readily yield to the power of the word. The word love overcomes those hard thoughts, which have caused mental and physical anguish. Since love is a harmonizing, constructive power, when it is made active in the mind of man, love conserves his substance. It reconstructs, rebuilds, and restores man in his world. This former drunk proved love's healing power. A nurse who had been working the night shift was suffering from insomnia. Finally, she visited her minister, explaining her inability to relax and sleep during the day and her hesitation to take habit-forming drugs for that purpose. The minister, explaining the healing effects of words on the body, asked the nurse to sit quietly in a big, comfortable chair. Together, they affirmed over and over, "I rest and relax in the love of God, and I am healed." It soon became apparent that the nurse was dozing as the minister quietly continued affirming for her, "You rest and relax in the love of God, and you are healed." Soon she was fast asleep, snoring. Upon returning home, the nurse slept well for the first time in weeks. Her insomnia was gone. A prayer group's findings on love. I know of a group of people who once experimented with the power of love in a prayer group and found it to be the greatest thing in the world for solving both personal and business problems. Once a week, these people met for an hour and together affirmed statements on divine love. They brought to this prayer group their private prayer list containing names of people and situations they wished to bless. No one else saw these prayer lists, nor were the people and problems on these lists mentioned. Instead, each person quietly placed his hands on his own list while the group affirmed together various statements on divine love. Divine love is doing its perfect work in me and through me now. They affirm for themselves, for their own health, prosperity, and happiness. Divine love is doing its perfect work in you and through you now. They affirm for others. For a quiet, peaceful way, amazing things begin to happen to the various members of that prayer group and to the people for whom they prayed. One businesswoman was out of harmony with a number of her friends. As she began dwelling on affirmations of love, these people began appearing unexpectedly at this prayer group, and reconciliation quickly took place. Another businesswoman had been troubled for some time because of a misunderstanding that had arisen months previously between her and some friends. She had made every effort to apologize and bring about harmony again, but she had been coldly rebuffed through her letters, telephone calls, and personal attempts. One night during the prayer time, as the group affirmed divine love for the names on their prayer list, this woman and one other heard a tremendous popping noise in the air. One of the ladies discounting it, thinking it was a product of her imagination. But after the group had concluded, the second lady came to her and confidently said, "Did you hear that popping sound in the air? That wasn't your imagination. It really happened. That was the hard thoughts that have existed between me and my friends being broken up. I am convinced that through our spoken words here tonight, divine love dissolved the inharmony that had existed." From that night on, this lady had a completely different feeling about the previous inharmony and quietly gave thanks that divine love had healed the situation. It proved to be so. Some weeks later, she felt led to contact her friends again. Instead of rebuffing her this time, they reacted as though nothing had ever been wrong between them. The previous cordiality was reestablished and continues still. Divine love is the force that dissolves all opposers of true thought and thus smooths out every obstacle that presents itself. When the substance of divine love is poured out upon alien thoughts, you are not bothered by them anymore. When love harmonizes the consciousness, you find that your outer affairs are put in order too, and where once there is opposition and fear, cooperation and trust prevail.
Wow. Go ahead and finish it, Barbara, and then we'll talk about it.
A businessman's success formula. Several years ago, a businessman related how he had developed his own private formula for straightening out troublesome people. He found just by getting quiet and blessing them with an affirmation on love, it was as though an electrical force was generated to which they became attuned. Usually they quickly responded with harmonious attitudes and behavior. If not, further affirmations on love invariably produce satisfactory results. Among his favorite love affirmations were these: divine love brings into my life the right people who can help me and make me happy, and whom I can help and make happy. Those people who are not for my highest good now fade out of my life and find their good elsewhere. I walk in the charmed circle of God's love, and I am divinely irresistible to my greatest good now. For troublesome people, he affirmed, I behold you with the eyes of love, and I glory in your perfection now. Ill health is often the result of inharmony in the home or office, which a person does not know how to throw off. The foregoing affirmations have a neutralizing, harmonizing effect on such situations shall be used daily for that purpose. Disease is usually caused by a mind not at ease. A famous surgeon recently pointed out that one of the requirements for good health is harmony with people. When you are inclined to wonder how just expressing thoughts and words of love can do much good in resolving your various problems, remind yourself that loving words and loving thoughts are supercharged with power to produce harmonious results. Indeed, it is the mission of love, both personally and impersonally, to produce wholeness in your life. Your job is not to wonder how love works, but to dare to release it from within yourself. As you do, you can witness interesting, satisfying, healing results.
Wow. I mean, I think that was powerful.
That was beyond.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking, oh, maybe we should start a group that does that every day, on Zoom, like for a half an hour, like in the morning, just come together and then just do that affirmation.
I'm in.
Amen.
What time would be good? Like 7:30, something like that in the morning? I'm just thinking,
8.
8?
Yes.
Does 8 work?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let me work on that. And then I'll have them send us, because I'm thinking, wouldn't it be powerful? I mean, if we did this, and what a difference we could make in the world and in our own lives, and really set that consciousness in place. All right, I'm gonna work on that, and I got all your guys' emails, so I will send that, and let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. Yeah. So we just do it, just maybe even just Lou.
Well, bigger than our, Dr. Laura, that could become a hallmark for this center.
Doing what?
I said bigger than just for our little group. That could be a hallmark.
No, we can advertise. Yeah. And but don't you think that would be powerful? Wow. Yeah. And I'd love to hear the stories and the healings that take place for people, and how powerful that would be.
Yeah, testimonials would be really terrific.
Yeah.
And either we'll do it like 15 minutes or half an hour, but just to do it every day to get us in that love consciousness and send that light out. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna end here because we're almost out of time. So as you know, we won't be meeting week anymore. This is the last. We're not doing any more live shows for any of you watching at 10 o'clock. I think Jeff Harrison is still doing his Friday one, but the rest of us aren't because we're starting to open up the center. So I've got your emails. I sent you guys links. And so let me know if that day, I don't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday, but if that works for you, give me your input. And if I get enough that's not good and this is better, let me know and maybe we'll readjust it. Okay. But I want to thank you guys for all your showing up and your sharing that you did, because I think that's powerful when we share our stories. And Margie, we didn't get to talk to you today. How are you doing, sweetie? Unmute.
I'm just great. I've been taking care of family members that are going through dementia, and it's a challenge, but it's also very loving. And I'm just great. And I so love Catherine Ponder. I read all her books, and this book study has been so powerful for me. And I'm excited that we might do affirmations in the morning to get our day started. I'm really excited about that.
I say we do that. I mean, I'm just getting God bumps all over, which means, Laura, this needs to get done.
Yes.
This needs to be done. So, when you can't join, but you'll know it's there. So, Barbara.
It's funny because when we found out that the center was stopping on the 10 o'clocks, I just went to a place of faith knowing that I would still receive what I need. And it's funny because then you are doing this. I think it's awesome.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. No, this was a great chapter for us to end on today and to give us that intention. And it just kept coming through me. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Okay. And then also don't forget, there's a button there for PayPal people that you can support this center and help us. We thank everybody who has been supporting this center through this time. We're really excited that we're opening up. Make sure our reservations are full already. And if you want to come the next week, I'm actually doing the talk on Mother's Day. And it's going to be called Motherhood, the Passion of Giving Birth. And that's what my talk is going to be on Mother's Day. So call the office first thing Monday morning and get yourself on the list for the following week so you can be there. I'd love to see you all there. Anyway, many blessings to all of you. I love you all, and it's great seeing you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon, and we'll start doing those affirmations, okay? All right. Bye-bye, guys.